Hey everybody, Alex here, and welcome to another actually more this is more like a FOMO pickup video. So as of this recording, gotta date it because we are trying to do this a little bit in relation to timing with current day, I guess you could say. I realize over time that may be the best way to go about this, so you can kind of see where the flavor of these pickups came from. The Xbox 360 marketplace is no more. And I did go about purchasing a bunch of digital stuff or just re-downloading stuff that I apparently bought a very long time ago and didn't remember. I do not remember buying Red Faction 2 for whatever reason. But man, the Wi-Fi on the 360 is so bad. If you guys are still downloading stuff or you purchase stuff on one of the websites or what have you, and you're trying to get stuff on your console, check to see if it's backwards compatible, because if you can download it on a current gen, obviously it's a bit faster. Or if you have the ability to hardline it, even if you have to bring it to another room, just do that. It took me literally 3 days to download Lego Lord of the Rings. I don't know why. But that being said, there is a bunch of stuff in here that is not FOMO related. So we're going to get that out of the way first. And it's mostly Switch and PS4. And I think a few 5. So, obvious one out of the way. Nintendo World Championships. This is the NES edition, which comes with a acrylic NES cartridge. I kind of like the fact that it has the sleeve, and it's the same sleeves that I grew up with. And I did buy the Joy-Con controllers some time ago in preparation for this game to play with my wife and compete a bit. And as of right now, she hasn't played it once. I have mostly played it, to be honest with you. And in a way, I'm disappointed. In a way, I'm not, because it's really just speed challenges. It's like, get to the end of the stage. I'm like, okay, this is easy. And it's like Super Mario Brothers. So I go down the pipe and everything, and then it basically stops me, keeps the timer going, because apparently I have to do it the old-fashioned way. And as much as I know these levels, because I grew up with them, I'm like, man, nobody plays like this. It's like literally one of those things. It kind of forces you into, I guess you could say, like a directional path that they want you to do for the challenge. So there's a bit of replayability in there, and I did get kind of caught in some games where I was like, oh, no, I could do this way better. And I think it was mostly with Metroid, actually, where I went back and did them a bunch. I did a bunch of them over and over again, just so I could get like that S tier rank in terms of timing. But in terms of the variety, I mean, game-wise, there's a very good selection, but objective, if you're into speedrunning stuff, you'll love it. If they do make a Super Nintendo version, I'll definitely be picking that one up too. But I am partially hoping they do something where they add like more strange stuff, like get through this level without, getting a fire flower, or rack up a score of XYZ using like, an invincibility star, something like that. Maybe those are some of the deeper challenges that I just haven't seen yet, but so far it seems just to be kind of the same thing over and over. Now, I also did get a limited run order to come in. I'm going to stack all those together, and we're just going to run through it. All right, so we got the two parts of the Holy Trinity here. We got Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 Portable on the Switch. Ordered these a while ago. I did get the Nitro deck, which is actually in the other room because the Switch died. Otherwise, I'd show it here. But I went with the P4 version, and it literally took forever and a day for that to get here because of that piece. Because I also got Plumbers Don't Wear Ties with it, and This Way Madness Lies. This is a magical girl RPG from the guys who did Cosmic Star Heroine and Cthulhu Saves Christmas and all that stuff. I do have it on Steam. I did play a little bit of it way back when, and I thought, hey, it's actually pretty cool. It's funny. They've always had a good sense of humor, and their gameplay is very, how could I put it? It's very solid, but they also like to pay homage to a lot of things. So if you look here at the way the battles are set up, and again, pardon for the glare here, it's a little bit of the Golden Sun, a little bit of the Shining Force style to it, but if you're into like the whole Shakespeare thing, magical girls, and like a little bit of humor and a nice 16-bit RPG, look this up. It's on Humble Bundles and stuff like that all the time if you don't want a physical. I did. And Plumbers Don't Wear Ties is notorious for being a shitty game, a very shitty visual novel that was basically made with $5, duct tape, and a dream. And for whatever reason, Josh from Limited Run, this was like his white whale, and he wanted it made 1,000 times over. And this is one of those things where I was like, I know this is a bad buy. I know like I'm gonna play this and think it's terrible, but it's one of those things where I only heard about it as a kid, and obviously YouTube and everything else. So part of me was like, you know what? If I don't get it, I'm gonna regret it. Not because I'm missing out, but because I want to experience it firsthand, as it were. And I could digitally, but it kind of defeats the purpose of collecting things. Now, as for that Nitro deck, I'm not going to pull it out here because I have to charge it. It feels like cheap plastic, but it's actually very solidly constructed. But I also, at this point, like, it's very comfortable. I'm not going to lie. The Switch is as big as the Steam Deck. And the OLED is already a little bit bigger than the normal model, and I use a light for visual novels just because I can shove it in my pocket if I'm traveling somewhere or I'm on a plane or whatever. That tends to be better unless I'm playing something that's more graphically intense. It is not conducive to taking outside as far as I'm concerned. It did come with a hard shell case, which I do appreciate. It did come with stick covers, even though they're Hall effect, which I do appreciate. It did come with a USB cable, also, which I do appreciate. It's a very full-bodied product, and it was very well worth the price of admission. But in terms of utility, I don't think it's necessarily going to get the airtime I thought it was going to get. Now, in terms of imports, because this is the all-American pickup video to an extent, El Shadizzle or El Shaddai, Ascension of the Metatron. This is the HD remaster. Have played this originally on the PS3. This is a very interesting, strange, artsy-fartsy game back in the days of Image Epoch. If you know, you know. Basically, I think their CEO just stopped showing up to work one day and has been missing for 15 years or something like that. It's a very interesting game because it deals with a lot of biblical references. It goes into the Old Testament a lot, which is really interesting if you read up on that. I went to Catholic school, so obviously all of our stuff with theology is based towards Catholicism. But I did take a class with I guess you could say, a quote-unquote hippie priest who made it a point to teach us about all religions and all the similarities and all the differences between them. So a lot of the stuff that was talked about and touched upon in this game, I remember literally from his lectures, and because he was a very sarcastic individual who would frequently visit us by the museum because that's where we would smoke cigarettes, and he too was a smoker, so he'd come up to us and go, "Can I bum a light?" But he had to do it off of school grounds. Who knew, right? Battle system wise, it's an action RPG, more so like, I guess you could say, a very clunky, I'll say Devil May Cry. Like, think like Devil May Cry 1, where everything kind of has a purpose to it in terms of attacking. You can't button mash, you have to have an intent, as it were. And it's a game I really do feel like you need to experience firsthand, because it is ultimately, in my opinion, an art project. But it's a very cool one, and it's a very interesting one. I waited to order this originally because it only came out on the Switch, and truthfully, I was like, I think the Switch could run it, but at this point, I've been surprised negatively before, so I opted to wait. And after watching a couple of reviews, since I know the ending to this game, a lot of folks say, yeah, actually, it's pretty serviceable, so I opted to go with it. And I went with the Asian release because it's less expensive than the limited run release, and I got it in less time, I think, despite. Super Zangura. This is I guess you could say, a Dojin-made Castlevania-style game. Sorry for the glare. Rob Mann sang praises about this game some time ago on an episode of Happy Console Gamer. And I had been looking at it, then I heard it was getting a physical release, so I opted to wait. Unfortunately, it took a while for it to come out, so I haven't played it yet, but I am looking forward to it. Also picked up the Japanese copy of Monster Hunter Stories. So now I have Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2 on the Switch. I have played the original Monster Hunter Stories on the 3DS back in the day. Hugely, hugely underrated RPG. Is the battle system a little simplistic because it's ultimately rock, paper, scissors? Yeah. If you're like me and you like the whole concept of Monster Hunter but you don't like playing the games, you'll be right at home with this. It feels more like a Saturday morning cartoon than anything, and I highly recommend it. I do feel like I kind of talked about this in the pickup video before. I have to get really... I had to redo my Game Eye app because my phone decided to shit the bed, and Alex, in his infinite wisdom, never made a restore point, so I literally had to go through every single game. I haven't even done digital stuff yet. This also involved me going to the storage unit for 2.5 hours, which was fun. I brought 2 Diet Cokes with me that day. And even then, I had one of the guys check me out on the security camera because when I went to leave, he was like, yo, man, you got video games in there, huh? And I was like, oh, fuck, now I got to change storage units. But he was just like, he asked if I was a seller or something. I was like, no, actually, I collect. And besides the video games, there's Christmas decorations in there. So don't fuck it up. And he laughed. But regardless, he and I actually had a conversation about games right after that. He's mostly newer gen. So the fact that he was like, I saw Super Nintendo and everything coming out, it was kind of cool. I was like, yeah, well, it is what it is. All right. PS4 and 5. Part 3 of the Holy Trinity. We got Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. I have played and I have finished Shin Megami Tensei 5 on the Switch. Phenomenal game. Do I necessarily think the story could have been better? Yeah, because they went really deep on the story and then it kind of just devolves into your typical SMT story, which is basically like, world is fucked up, you make a choice, alright, go at it. This was after they built up all these side characters. I think Nocturne did it a little bit better, but this is also a lot easier than Nocturne. The Switch did suffer from a lot of frame rate problems. This allegedly fixes all that, and there's a new story route. I forgot the naming convention of it, but I've kind of heard mixed results on it. Some people are like, it takes way too long to get to the new content, and some people are like, oh my god, the new content's great, and some people are like, the new content feels like the old content. So I don't know who to believe. So I will just do it myself and let you guys know how I feel about it. LA Noire. This went on like stupid ultra liquidation clearance sale at like Video Games Plus. And with the conversion rate, this was like, I think like $13 because I stacked it with a bunch of other stuff I was ordering at the time. So I could get free shipping. My wife played this on the PS3 and she really liked it. Then one day she came home and was like, what happened to LA Noire? I'm like, oh, I flipped it. And she's like, I never finished it. And I was like, oh, this was a very long time ago. So I told her I rebought it because they had like, cleaned it up a bit. And she was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll watch you play because I'm not going through all those cases again. Because she wanted to do all of them perfectly. And I'm not a big Rockstar Games guy at all, truthfully. The only game I've ever played from them that I actually liked was the table tennis. And even then, that was kind of sus. Now, these next two, these are kind of, I want to say, impulse buys. The first is Outcast: A New Beginning. And guess what? I can't tell if this is a remake, a remaster, or a sequel. So Outcast was like a third-person shooty game with RPG elements a la old school BioWare, back on PC in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and very European, if you know, in terms of the jank. And everything was larger than life, including the character. Like the world was this big and he was this big for whatever reason. And it did receive, I guess you could say, a cleaned up version on GOG some time ago. And it's something I've had and I dabbled in a little bit way back when, but I never really committed time to it because I think I ended up playing Omicron or something at that point, or Omicron the Nomad Soul, because in case you don't know, David Bowie's in it, which is always a good thing. And this was on like, it came out with like a stupid edition, which was like $200. That got reduced to like $50 like the next day. And GameStop had this version, the vanilla, down from I think 60 to like 20. So I needed stuff for free shipping, and I was like, why not? But the real thing I was trying to get was Still Wakes the Deep. This is the latest game from the Amnesia guys. I think it's the Chinese Room. The Chinese Room. So this one takes place on a tanker. And if you're a fan of movies like The Thing and stuff like that, I've been told like this is not a one-for-one, or The Abyss rather. It's not a one-for-one, but if you're into that sort of thing and you like the Amnesia games and you like that idea of being chased and, hiding and all that stuff, this is for you. It has been on PC for a minute. It's gotten, because Steam is Steam, good reviews and bad reviews. Because some people don't understand, like, they're like, oh, this is like Amnesia, but it's exactly like that, so therefore thumbs down. Or, it's too much like Amnesia, that is a good thing. I don't know. I don't care. This is also on Game Pass. If you want to do it that way, feel free. I just wanted to have it on PS5 because at this point with me and Xbox, I feel like I'm kind of done with the whole Game Pass model. I have like 2 or 3 more free months hanging around from promotions and stuff. I'm just going to use those and call it quits. I subscribed to the service for pretty much since it started because I had like so many years of gold left over. And truthfully, I've only played like maybe 2 or 3 games on it. Next one I hope to play before all these things run out is Hi-Fi Rush, and guess what? That's on PS5 now. Rusted Moss. This is a sort of, I guess you could say, like a run and gun platformer game with a little bit of like a, what's her name? Sayonara Bazooka Kawase-san. Jesus Christ. The girl with the I know you people are like yelling at the camera. The girl with the fishing rod. I forgot the name. Sayonara something or another. Basically physics-based platforming with a fishing rod. There's a little bit of that, but there's more action in this. And this has been on PC for a bit, and a lot of people say, you know, even though it's borrowing a convention, the controls are surprisingly tight. And the import, I think, was like $20 or something. And these I got off of a deal at Target. It was like buy two, get one. These aren't necessarily the ones I did the buy two, get one on. It's just these are the ones that showed up, and these are the ones I decided to show. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Wrath of the Mutants. This is an arcade game from like 20 years ago. I don't know why this all of a sudden was sent out to die on current gen platforms ahead of the admittedly really cool looking roguelike. But I showed it to my wife and I was just like, listen, would you play this with me? And she was like, yeah, sure. Speaking of which, did we ever play or finish Shredder's Revenge? And I was like, no, we didn't. But guess what? I flipped it and bought it on the PS4 because there's no difference between this and the PS5 version other than not hitching as much as the Switch version, which is what we previously played. And guess what? She's the one who pointed it out, not even me. And I didn't have the DLC anyway, so opted for this. And I actually had bought that previously, but with the way these deals work, I basically ride the return window so I can maximize my savings. And finally, we have Tevi. This is kind of like a spiritual successor to what's it called? Rabbi Ribby, which is from the same developers actually. They is a Metroid-style game with a bunny girl, an anime bunny girl. It came out several years ago, and it was very popular in the like homebrew doujin community. It's actually getting a new version on the Switch, and it was released through Limited Run and some other publishers a long time ago in Europe. Had those, sold them off because they were mad money at the time. But now it's getting re-released in Japan with like a very cool like stupid edition, which is actually affordable. So I'm probably just going to do that so I can have them together. It looks like it's Switch only though. I would like to get on the PS4 or 5 so I can match that with Tevi, but we'll see what happens. All right, now for the FOMO stuff, and then we're getting the hell out of here. The FOMO spreads, surprisingly. It made me nostalgic for like the previous generation as a whole. As if this doesn't tell you. So I'm going to go through these really quick. Some of these don't really need an introduction, but I can tell you for fact, out of all of these, I've literally only played one of them ever. Infamous 1 and 2 Collection. I got this for $15. The Festival of Blood voucher is a DLC voucher. Obviously, it's expired, let alone redeemed. I had already had it from some time ago. I think they gave it out on PS Plus, or it was during one of those data breaches. I can't remember. I had only played a demo of the original Infamous, and at the time, the concept of playing a superhero or a supervillain just did not seem at all interesting to me whatsoever. But now, with the MCU, which is the MCU, and the games like Spider-Man and Wolverine Origins and Deadpool and the Captain America game that they did for the movie some time ago, I love superhero games again. Like the idea of like a licensed video game. I was actually thinking about doing a topic on licensed video games. Now I miss them. There's actually a lot. It's just they're all kind of congealed into one thing: superheroes. So I thought let's go back to the original open world moral dilemma superhero game in Infamous. Mad World, I've owned this like 12 times. I keep selling it, flipping it because stuff happens, whatnot. This is a platinum joint. I really got this because I did pick up Anarchy Reigns on the 360, which I think I mentioned in the last pickup video. The main character, Mad World, is also an Anarchy Reigns, and I wanted to have, you know, the complete platinum set, as it were. Very artsy, with a sort of a Frank Miller black and white aesthetic where you only see blood. Also touch on the superhero deal. Got Prototype 1 and 2 on the 360. I know there's HD remasters. They are way too much fucking money. By comparison, these were $5 and $6 each, complete, through East Starland. God bless them. They're doing the Lord's work. But from what I was reading, there's like weird frame rate problems in Prototype 2. Like, basically, Activision sent those remasters out to die just because they were made, they were serviceable, and they're like, put it out, let's see if we can make a quick buck. They do go on sale from time to time, but if you read all the reviews, even on, like, even on Xbox itself, everybody's like, just if you have access to the originals, and these were on sale prior to the store closure, digitally as well. People say just go with the originals, like, you're much better off. Like, they just perform so much better. The added resolution really doesn't make a difference because your frame rate just tanks every single time. Picked up a copy of Gun. This is also on PC. This is also on PSP. This is also on the original Xbox. This was also part of the 360 liquidation close down sale for, I think, $5.99 or $4.99. This was $9.99 for me physically complete through a retailer online. So figured why not. I was originally planning to get this on PC because, you know, PC is PC. Like, let's just call it what it is. But lately what I've found, the older a game is, even if it's on GOG, I spend more time tinkering with it than I would like. That's the case with Jedi Knight. I've mentioned that 1,000 times. Jedi Academy, that's happened 1,000 times. Even the those Kingdoms Under Fire games I was mentioning, trying to wait for a sale on Steam, which they eventually went on. Downloaded them, played a little bit. After all the finicking, I said fuck it and just returned it and kept the physical copies just because I was like, this is way too much work. Even one of the Lord of the Rings strategy RTS games, I managed to track down on PC through Sorcery. And getting that to run took some doing. It took a lot of custom installers and whatnot. And by the time I finally got into the game, I was like, yeah, this game looks like shit. So still played a couple of competitive maps, though. It was still fun. Next up, we have 99 Nights on the, well, the original one, actually. This one's funny because this was like $10, while the sequel is like $60. These are more like a Dynasty Warriors style game. They are Xbox 360 exclusives. I played the original one way back when, but I really wasn't that much of a Muso guy. Now I kind of play them just to veg out and not think about anything, kind of like an EDF game. So for $10, I figured why not. Also picked up the sequel digitally due to the store closed down sale. Picked up a copy of Turok. This FPS, when it came out, a lot of people said it was really shit by comparison to the old ones. Never played it. Figured let me check it out, see what it is, and that's why I grabbed it, because it was only, I think, like $10 anyway. And then finally, for $5, a copy of 007 Nightfire. I actually have this on PC, but I didn't realize the PC version is inherently different from this version here. There's driving levels, and there's cinematic stuff that goes on. Apparently, Gearbox is the one that did the PC version. I had no idea. And for $5, I figured why not. This is also, I think this is a backwards compatible one on the 360. If it's not, it's either this or it's Rogue Agent. I can't remember. Anyway, I've been Alex, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.